Hey guys, welcome back. Another Digital Gate Studios production. Jacob, thank you so much for joining me. The reason why I have him back here with us today is because he has been helping me with all of this free shenanigans going on.
This has been an absolute pleasure to just kind of go back and forth on this list a lot, and I'm
Yeah,
glad we're getting a chance to show it off. This is a deck that, the first time Jeff brought it up, I was like, I mean, it seems playable, but
right,
it
right.
actually kind of surprises me
It kind of exceeds your
where it
expectations.
goes because it does.
It
It
takes
takes a
some.
lot of weird cards you wouldn't expect to see in a deck and
Absolutely.
just shuffles them together and makes it work. So,
Well, guys, if you can't tell by this mat that's here underneath and in the center of your screen
and
here,
probably also the title of the video.
also the title of the video of the thumbnail that you clicked on. Thanks to Jesse. Shout out to him for editing awesome thumbnails. Everybody give it up to him in the comments. We are talking about Hawkmon Armor Rush. So Armor Rush is a mechanic that I really liked in BT8. I was kind of a big fan of the aggro Rookie Rush style kind of decks. And I really liked the Vmon Armor Rush. I was a big fan of that. Obviously, that's still going to be the strongest way to play Armor Rush. So if you're a big fan of that, shout out in the comments to you as well. Armadillos are really fun as well, and armadillos do have the second most amount of level threes. But I'm personally a big fan of this Hawkmon Armor Rush more than I am the armadillos, and I'll explain that why in a second. Okay?
I mean, you almost can't base it just off the number of threes now that we have mulligans too.
Exactly. So we do have ways around that.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna start off with our eggs. We're playing 4 Gurimon, and we are playing a. If you want to play a fifth egg, a Capurimon. So personally, guys, I'm a fan of just 4 eggs. So when I play this deck, I usually just play the 4 Gurimons, but I think I'm going to try to be a better content creator and put a fifth egg in all my deck profiles just so that way you guys have, kind of my thought
Options.
process and stuff. The Gurimon's really great when attacking 6K or more, draw a card.
You're gonna have that too.
I'm going to have it, but it's not as often as you think with the fours, right? It's not like the Vmon where you have the Flame Dramon and stuff. So my armor purges may not necessarily hit that, but when I get to
Mhm.
my fives and sixes, which you do quite a lot, is going to draw you a crap ton of cards. It's awesome. I love the Gurimon. The Capurimon for my fifth egg. If you have a Tamer in play, this Digimon gets plus 1K, so it just does help elevate those armors into that next threshold because we do play a good amount of Tamers in this deck.
You can never go wrong with extra power, especially in red.
Yes, absolutely. So these are the eggs that I like. Again, I like 4, but I see the argument for 5. We're going to dive into our first level 3 here. It is going to be the mascot of the deck, Hawkmon himself. So Hawkmon reveal the top 4 cards, add 1 2-color red card among them to your hand. So it really does do a great job of adding a whole bunch of cards. I was having a lot of fun at the beginning with my first iteration of this deck profile with like Jesmon GX, trying to kind of copy what the Vmon Armor Rush was doing. And I was actually able to pick it up because it's 2-color red, right?
Yeah,
So you do not have to use this in just Armor Rush decks or just Hawkmon Tribal for all the loyal Hawkmon fans out there. You can play it because it is a 2-color red card. So with all the new Marcus support, the Shine Gray, etc., does have a lot of use for sure. Generally, what I'll do is I'll keep that one in hand and kind of keep that for when I need to search pieces later on. And this is kind of my main level 3 that I will raise in the raising area. We are talking about the BT3 Hawkmon. So that's it, guys. The entire deck and the entire Digimon card game history on the 30 sets that we're at this point, we have 2 whole Hawkmons. We're not like Armadillos who got a 2-drop in set 1 that was blue, as well as having the yellow ones that they've been given. We have 8 Hawks that we are able to play right now. So I really like this, though. 4K is actually really nice because you armor purge, right? And then all of a sudden it's a 4K level 3 underneath. So it's a little bit harder to pop with effects that kill 3Ks, whatever. And then sometimes they can't just swing their level 4 into it, especially if they're
yep.
playing 4s with effects, right?
Mhm.
So I'm a big fan of that.
It caught me off guard a time or two, that's for sure.
Now, this is the card that I think makes the deck insanely playable. We're talking another one of the season 2 homies, Vmon from EX3. You may be thinking this card like, wait a second, are you playing red, purple, Imperial Dramon? I totally can because that is searchable by the Hawks. So that was a version that I tested. Spoiler alert, not playing the red, purple, Imperial stuff. It is definitely doable in this deck. You could definitely go that direction. But what I really like about this, on play, you may trash 1 card with Imperial Dramon or free, draw 2. So
Fits a little too well in the deck.
fits insanely well in the deck. So now if you notice, I do have a fun little surprise coming up in the deck that does benefit from cards and trash. So you can trash the key cards that you need to in order to give him, in order to set up your plays later on, right? And also, it has an inheritable. When you have a purple Digimon in play, this Digimon gets plus 2k. I'm going to give you a hint, guys. It comes up a lot. I absolutely love this inheritable in this deck. I feel like I almost like the inheritable more in this deck than I do the red-purple Imperial, right? Because it's already at those huge thresholds. This is my last level 3 in the deck. 2 EX3 Wormmons. Had to play the worm, so let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it, right? So it's got a great inheritable. All turns, when you have a red Digimon in play, this Digimon gains retaliation.
How many red Digimon do you have?
I have quite a bit of red Digimon in this deck, guys. We still have to go through some cards here, right? What's great, though, is that when this gets tucked by a certain level 5 in BT8, aka Chimeramon, it becomes a purple, and it now has retaliation. And then the Chimera is purple, so the Vmon triggers becoming 14k Chimera, 15 with the Capuri.
Retaliation is in a pretty good spot in this meta, I think, especially on something like a level 3 inheritable that you're going to be able to proc.
I definitely think
so, because like Sportsmons are going to be suspended. You can just punish them for that.
Yeah, so this is also really nice too. It is a search on player reveal the top 3, add 1 purple red card with free to your hand. So this can grab all of my level 4s except 2, which I'll dive into in a sec. It can grab the Imperial Dramons that I do play in this deck. Also another spoiler alert, but you don't know which one it is quite yet. You do have, and then you get to choose to trash one of the ones that are revealed, which again also helps with the deck because you kind of are trashing a particular piece with the Vmon and some other cards we have in the deck as well. So generally kind of what I like to do. Oh, and also before I move on, this can digivolve on a red level 2.
Oh, yeah.
So it can digivolve in the raising area and can be a body if you really need to as well. This is 14 level 3s. 14 is a lot these days with mulligans. But, you know, this is an aggro deck back to the days of the Rookie Rush when you used to play 30 level 3s. At least it felt like that for sure.
Plus, you have so many good on-play effects.
Yeah, I have a lot of good on-play, so it's kind of nice. You know, my priority is to digivolve with Hawkmon in the raising, depending on my hand, of course. Get the Vmon set up to draw cards. I personally like the draw cards in this deck more than I like the search.
Especially because it can kind of help you if you're flooding on rookies.
Exactly.
Top, you can kind of filter that too.
Yeah. So and then, you know, Wormmon is also a good target to be trashed with the Vmon because it does put purple in the trash for Chimeramon plays later.
And I don't want to say it kills your stack. We'll go over that in a sec. But it's a little hard to go on top of purple and it is a red too.
It is, right? So let's dive into some actual mascots of the deck. The Halseyman are right here, guys. We got 3 Halseymons.
Such a good artwork.
I love this artwork. It's one of my favorite artworks in the game, for sure.
But only 3.
Only 3. So now, guys, the room is insanely tight on this deck.
Why did you got so many rookies?
Another reason why I wanted Jacob here in the house, besides being the Imperial Dramon Master, the free Digimon Master, the Season 2 Master, is I'm experimenting with ratios I've never experimented before in this deck in particular. This deck has really pushed my limits as a deck builder. I mean, I'm sitting here building Hawkmon Rush and BT12 meta.
It turns out when you build bad decks as good as possible, it'll do that.
It will do a lot, right? Exactly. So I really had to stretch the limits, right? So let's talk about this. Halseyman can only digivolve on Hawkmon. There's only 8 Hawkmons. If I get more Hawkmons, the Wormmon would be replaced, and then that number can go up, and then that will definitely, you know, be something we reconsider later on. This is really good, though, because on the Hawks, it only digivolves for 2, and when attacking, deletes a level 3. It did do so much good against D-Brigade. It does do a lot of work against Searchers when they hard play their Searcher Augurs, Gabus, whatever it may be. Memory Setters, Floodgates, etc. It pops them, and it's an Armor Purge, so it supports the strategy. I'm a big fan of the Halseyman. The fact that it's a blue Digimon when they didn't give us a blue Hawk is probably something I can question Bandai about. Bandai, since you're obviously huge subscribers and you're watching, why is that a blue Digimon? Come on, give me red. So to pair with the Halseyman, let's talk about another mascot on the mat, 3 of Shurimon. So the Shurimon, guys, I'm also really excited because we got this brand new artwork. This was one of the few armor purges that we got in BT8 that didn't have a sick alt art.
But now it does.
Now it does, guys. We got the Chimeramon, and the good news, guys, is they're going to be cheap as crap. All of these cards are really cheap. So if you're thinking about playing this, go ahead, pick up your pieces. Also, while you're at it, like, comment, subscribe, join the fun. We have tons of great deck profile videos coming your way. Let's talk about Chimeramon. Chimeramon, same thing, can only digivolve on green. So for green armor purge, this might be more of a 4 of. I do really like this one, and I wouldn't mind playing it as a 4 of because I do want green level 4s in my deck. I think having a lot of green can really help this deck. It does give a lot of benefits in general. It is a 4-drop, so it's also really nice, too, when I'm at 4 to hard play, and then I can Chimera, right?
Yeah, since we're already spoiling the Chimera at this point.
That's
how many colors have we already shown?
Yeah, so that's a great question, right? So we're talking about red, purple, blue, and green. Red, purple,
number,
blue,
isn't it?
green. 4. Yeah, so that's going to be 4 colors, and you really consistently get 4 to 5 colors in the Chimeramon stack to do minus 5K, minus 4K, et cetera,
and be a 12K.
And be a 12K, 14K, potentially 15K. If you decide to play more of that egg, let me know in the comments, but I think you'll see the Gurimon is the right choice. But one last point about the Chimeramon I do want to make is that this card has 1v games. It stops a Digimon that has blocker from blocking or attacking until the end of your opponent's next turn. People do not see that coming.
I mean, people give you 5, hard play a blocker, and say, I bought a turn.
Exactly. And all of a sudden, raise a Hawkmon, Digivolve for 2, can't be blocked, win the game right there. Chimeramon does a crap ton of work. I love it. I really actually do like the armor purges level 4s that they gave us for this deck. And the next card in the deck, guys, it is another armor purge, and arguably another reason why Hawkmon Armor Rush is actually really strong, because it is a red Digimon, red level 3s. We do get to play the wonderful Flamedramon, which is like the best artwork out of BT8 as a whole, and one of the best armors in the game. So let's talk about why Flamedramon, who's not even the mascot of this video, right, gets to be the 4 of, while Halseymonn and Shurimons are not, right? Flamedramon is insanely strong. For those of you who've played Hawkmon Armor Rush, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The 8K is a respectable number. It survives a lot of checks. Also draws me a lot of cards with Gurimon. So, and then also, it digivolves for 3 on the Hawks, but it only digivolves for 2 on the Vmon. And then can get buffed with purple to be a 10K on my turn when it attacks. So, huge fan of the Flamedramon in this deck. In BT8, when I built the Hawkmon Armor Rush, it was a 4-4-4 split, you know, or 4-4-3. I can't remember the exact numbers, but the Flamedramon's always been a 4 of. I really do like it. It's unfortunate that it's not the mascot, and I have to borrow stuff from the Vmon crowd, which I don't necessarily want to do, but sometimes you got it, right?
I think it makes it work, honestly. It's a really good addition to the deck.
Yes, big fan of it. Now, this is a card that another reason why I want to have you sit across from me.
I love this card.
This is my favorite armor form Digimon. Shadramon. What's a purple level 4? What? What are you doing here?
This card's so good for so many
reasons.
This
card is so good. So let's talk about it here. He digivolves for only 2 on both purple and red level 3s. So he can digivolve on all 14 of my level 3s. That now makes it so Wormmon is kind of more useful, where if I just brick and I had to digivolve in the raising area, I can use the Shadramon for if I really have to. Besides Shadramon being the Fire of Courage for Wormmon and being, you know, arguably the best armor purge ever designed by Digimon as a whole, it actually has a lot of great synergies with this deck. When digivolving, activate one of the effects below. You may digivolve one of your other Digimon into a red level 4 Digimon card with free in its traits from your trash for its cost.
How many of those have we mentioned
already? That's insane.
Have
Have you ever thought about using this deck outside of Imperial Dramon Red Purple from EX3? Yeah, right? So now if you have a Hawkmon on the field because you searched for something, or if you have a Vmon on the field because you tried to draw cards, you digivolve into Shadramon with one of the pieces. If Flamedramon, Shurimon, Halseymonn, whatever, as long as you meet the requirements, right? You can digivolve your other level 3 into those bodies, recycling that armor form again.
Yep. Absolutely worth it. And that's only one of the other.
That's only one of the effects of it, right? So it's really nice too, because it also has another ability. You may DNA digivolve this Digimon and one of your other Digimon into a Digimon card with your hand for its DNA or for his DNA Digivolve cost.
We've already spoiled it, so let's keep.
We've already spoiled it. So chimeramon is in the deck. So for example, let's just say you have 1 memory or 0 memory by the time you set up another level 4, but you have another level 3 out on the board. However you have it set up, you can Digivolve into that Shadramon, activate its when Digivolving effect, so that way you can Chimera and do a 4 or 5k board wipe on 4 opponents' Digimon. Does a crap ton of work. It's awesome. I love the Shadramon in this deck. It's been one of my favorite additions. For those of you who are big fans of the channel, on our podcast a couple weeks back, it was my card of the week for this reason, because I've been testing the crap out of this deck. So,
fantastic card.
Fantastic card. And it is purple for Chimera, so now we have 4 purple bodies. So now, I'm not done with 4s. This is where my ratios get crazy weird. I decided
Weird for you.
I'm not playing enough freeze, so I decided to play a 1 of Stingmon. And this one particular card here, besides playing restricted cards in decks, is all of a sudden enlightening me to playing more 1-ofs in my decks, to trying crazier ratios. Because it's really nice. When you would play this card from your hand, if you have a blue Digimon in play, it reduces play cost by 1. So what happens is when you're trying to Chimeramon and you have 3 memory out, sometimes you only get 1 level 4 set up, right? And you're really trying to get that 3rd level 4. I'm borrowing ideas from the Imperial Dramon player to make this work, right? So basically, blue level 3, or excuse me, blue 4, blue level 4, so I have 7. So I have more blue than green. This gives me a 4th green source for the deck, and I get to reduce the play cost by 1 because of having that. I also really like the Inheritable, especially when it's underneath the Chimeramon. Yep. It's not a once per turn. When attack, if you have a blue Digimon to play, draw 1. So this card does a lot of work in this deck. I've been really liking it as a 1-of. It's nice to just kind of sit there when I need to play something for 3 to Chimera really quick, because sometimes you don't have 4 for like a Shuri, or sometimes you don't have time to like set up the Shadramon play. So it's just a great way to really help the Digivolution.
Yeah,
so
we mentioned it before. There's no end of turn DNA effects here. So
yes,
you really need to focus on that memory efficiency.
Exactly. So let's talk about our last level 4 in the deck. 1 of Kumamon. So unfortunately, guys, I do not get to play the BT12 Lanamon, because I don't have any blue level 3s to tuck. But the source removal is still really nice. And it sometimes, you know what? You have to do crazy plays where you have to make a Chimeramon happen to do a board wipe, to get an extra check. So sometimes you Digivolve on a Tamer, and you got your 2nd level 4 right there to make.
Or when you go on a Tamer and then play the Stingmon.
And play the Stingmon, exactly. So this will then makes it, and also, of course, hybrid for game, right?
Always good.
Crazy ratios, right? We're talking 14 level 3s, 14 level 4s. Definitely is a really unique list. What's good is I do have a lot of cheap on plays of level 4. I do have a great draw engine with the Guri and the Vmon, search with the Hawks, search with the Worm. Lots of good can come from this. We've been talking about this card all video. I think people want to see it. The fans want the Chimera because he's just the coolest card ever. We're talking Chimeramon, 4 of. When BT8 happened and the Armor Purge decks came, I think everybody really realized how good Chimeramon was. I know I've started putting Chimeramon in a lot of my decks just as
such a good card.
Yeah, as a tertiary level 5 that does a great job when you're combining level 4s, whatever it may be. And sometimes, honestly, you just have to Digivolve for 4, right? Because in this deck, especially if you have a setup, let's say you have Hawkmon, Flamedramon, Chimera, you Digivolve. You can either tuck a green, you tuck a purple. That makes it so that way you have that 4 to 5k board wipe that you need to do on 4 Digimon. So the Chimera is a really strong play. Don't be afraid to just Digivolve for 4. But it is one of those Armor Purge decks where you kind of are trying to set up 2 level 4s, Digivolve into the Chimera. I would almost argue Chimera is kind of the boss of this deck.
It's starting to sound that way.
It really has become like one of the boss monsters for sure. I wish I could play more Chimeras, or you know what? A Chimeramon X with a similar ability would be an insane addition to the game, Bandai. Let's jump on that. But when Digivolving, for those of you who don't know what Chimera is, you can Digivolve, DNA Digivolve for 0 from any 2 level 4s. Doesn't matter the color. Doesn't matter if they're the same color. Or it can Digivolve for 4 on any color, level 4. When Digivolving, you can tuck a level 5 or lower Digimon underneath for its bottom source, right? It's insane. And then you go ahead and do minus 1,000 for every color this Digimon has. Now, it's your turn ability. This Digimon is treated as having every color in the sources. So if it's white, blue, green, purple, red, that's 2, 3, 4, 5 colors, right? That's insane.
That's almost all of them.
It's like almost all of them except black and yellow.
Which triggers the Wormmon and the Vmon.
Yeah, my first version of the Hawkmon Armor Purge, I was experimenting more with like the Magnamon and the Jessmon GX. So it technically did have all colors in the deck, but I've really refined it. This is the way I really like it. And it's really nice too because chimeramon does become those colors. So you can give him retaliation with Wormmon. You can give him plus 2k with Vmon. It's very easy for him to hit that 14, 15k threshold with the Chimeramon to just be a huge level 5 that does a lot of damage.
Yep.
I am playing one more level 5 in the deck. This has been doing me a lot more work than I thought it would. It's really just a backup to the Chimera. And
that's such a good card.
It is such a good card. It has 1-me games, so DNA Digivolve from blue and green. So again, another reason why the Stingmon's really helpful. We are playing 4 green level 4s. You obviously have a lot more. We have 8 blue level 4s. So Chimeramon is the preferred. This one's really not bad though. When Digivolving, if you DNA, you return one opponent's Digimon with 6k or less to the bottom of the deck. When attacking, once per turn, unsuspend this Digimon. So unfortunately, I don't get to steal everything from Imperial Dramon decks. He does not have jamming. That is a downside, but this has won me a game before, and it's great if you're just, removing a body, swinging into a suspended body, unsuspending, it's when doing a security check, whatever. It is nice. You can tuck this underneath Chimeramon as well if you trash it early with the Vmon because you have enough Chimeramons. As you play this deck, you kind of learn what you need and don't need, so... it is in there. I did experiment with the BT3 Pyodramon as well, and I am a big fan of that as well. It just obviously doesn't have the DNA instead of just normal Digivolves, has jamming, and gives Imperial Dramon the ability to unsuspend when it attacks, but this is what I've been settling on. This is what I really like. Let's dive into a level 6, shall we? So once again, weird ratios, 14 3s, 14 4s, 5 level 5s.
I mean, it's Armor Purge.
It's Armor Purge. So now we're going to go into an Imperial Dramon Dragon mode. We're talking EX1. That is not an old school Digimon card that I bought from some random person on eBay. That is, in fact, an EX1 Digimon card. Great artwork. It's pretty cool. I think I like it a little bit more than the normal EX1 alt, but I understand if you're not a fan of the old school look. Right? It's pretty cool. But what's also great about this card is that it actually works really well in this deck. I've tried all the different Imperial Dramons I could think of.
I remember you playing that with Tyrannos.
I was playing it with Tyrannos really to just help the extra colors, but now this fits so naturally in this deck. So let's talk about what this does. When Digivolving, I have to read it because I want to make sure I read it right. If a Digimon card with free is in its traits, so everything besides Chimeramon and Kumamon that you've seen here so far is free in its traits, you can go ahead and unsuspend this Digimon, and suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. What's really nice is you kind of get that Chimeramon board wipe, whatever it may be. You swing because he's so big. You Digivolve for 3 into the Imperial Dramon, and you unsuspend himself. Swing again, and he has a DP threshold bonus as well. Your turn, for every color in its sources, he gets plus 1,000k. So guess what I get to do now that Chimeramon wasn't able to do as much? I get to count white. So I can have, when you have great big Chimera stacks with tons of colors, you can be 11k, 12k, 13k, 14k, 15k, 16k Imperial Dramon Dragon mode.
That's huge.
It's huge.
That lives most checks.
It lives most checks. So you know what? I may not have jamming like other Imperial Dramon decks, but I got to be bigger than them because we're playing a red deck.
What I love about this, just stall for a sec. Look at where we are on what we're talking about. We're talking about Imperial Dramon.
Yeah.
Where we started. It's such a weird.
We started with Hawkmon Red going up into this blue Imperial, and you'll be surprised how well it works. Now, a card that I am so excited came out in BT12 that perfectly complements this deck and that Imperial Dramon is the Imperial Dramon Fighter Mode from BT12.
Love this card.
Great card. Outstanding card.
Great art.
Super glad you recommended this to me. Great addition to the deck. What's really nice, too, is that when you Digivolves, it has that little mini removal. Suspend all your opponent's Digimon. You can bounce this to hand to bottom deck instead of returning to hand. So it's good. It's decent removal. But you know what I really like about it?
What do you like about it?
The fact that it's all turns get plus 1k for every color. So that's 16k here. This becomes an 18k if you have all the colors with blocker and security attack plus 1. That's just stupid. It's just stupid. It's like, what am I doing with this deck? How did I get here?
I think the only thing that can be a bigger blocker than that is War Gray.
Yeah, so it takes a lot of work to get this big, but this deck does it naturally. The chimeramon is not force. It is the natural armor purge style. That's kind of what you're after. It does a lot of good work. This Imperial Dramon is just kind of a nice complement to the top end, really benefits off of all the extra colors. And then the fighter mode does really help as well. So that's going to be it for Digimon. Blitz Omnimon, I'm going to give you an honorable shout out. You deserve it. I really want to try to fit in the deck, but you'll see kind of why I didn't. What ends up happening with this deck is you kind of stick around. If you've played Armor Purge, you know what I'm talking about. You stick with your level 4s. You're kind of doing most of your damage with the level 4s, and the level 5 becomes like a pseudo boss, whereas this becomes like certain situations, right? Which is why it's only 5 level 6s. So I found myself never using the Blitz Omni. I found myself using like a Kumamon as a hybrid more often. I am a fan of it, so if you find room for it, let me know in the comments. Let's dive into Tamers. Again, gotta borrow from Imperial Dramon because Davis is one of the best Tamers in the game. On play, reveal the top 3, add 1 blue and 1 green. So you can add blue, green, blue, green, blue, blue, green, blue, blue, green. So it can add
I gotta
bunch
ask,
of cards.
Since your colors are obviously all over the place, how often do you just whiff this?
You actually don't whiff that much with the Davis. It's really nice. So you do kind of have to play it smart. You kind of don't want to just be if you have a handful of level 4 armors or whatever, you kind of don't go crazy with that. But one of my favorite plays is I literally hit a Stingmon and a Kumamon, my one-ofs, with that card. I was able to grab them both. But it's really nice too because it grabs fighter mode, it grabs the dragon mode, it does grab Halseymon, Shurimon,
And
Flamedramon. One of my 5. So it does a lot of work in this deck, and it's a great memory setter. This deck does really benefit from having Tamers set up, does benefit from having 3 memory, and I think the thing that would take this over the top is having ways to play Tamers for free like a lot of decks can do nowadays, which is just, I'm just jealous of it, right? Let's just say that. So let's talk about another addition to the deck. This is one that I'm kind of borderline on, but it has just done me so much work in Armor Purge, not just VMon, in this deck as well, that I kind of want to keep it in. So let me say that a little bit stronger. I want to keep it in. All right, it's not like a kind. It's good. What's really nice too is that he unsuspends Imperial Dramon Fighter mode because it's 2 colors. So then you get to use the blocker on your opponent's turn after you made aggressive plays with the Chimera and the Imperial Dramon Dragon mode. So I'm a big fan of this Tamer. It is also really nice too for the general Armor Purge shenanigans, being able to, because it just says 2 or more colors, doesn't specify blue-green, to unsuspend Shuri, Halsey, Flamedramon when you are digivolving after you've kind of done your first Armor Purge when you swing into security. The memory gain is also really nice. I'm a big fan of the memory gain. It is not nearly as consistent as Imperial Dramon or VMon Armor Rush. I'm sure you're not surprised by that, but sometimes you just don't have the red or blue, and sometimes it hurts when you have to set it up yourself instead of it getting hit out of security. Downside of the deck. I'm playing Hawkmon Armor Rush. What do you guys want?
You can't go wrong with that. Swing, purge, swing.
Exactly. That's just classic Armor Purge and does a lot of work.
A lot.
So let's talk about our final Tamer in the deck. And I didn't mean to. We just ended up recording Jacob's Imperial Dramon deck profile video, and we were playing the exact same Tamers. And I don't think we coordinated this either. I know I did talk to you and ask a lot of help about this, but I think you and I just both had the same mindset of kind of what the deck needs and why it needs it. The Davis is awesome in this deck. Gain 1 memory if you have free Digimon, right? So everything in here is free except Chimera and Kuma. So it's really, really nice. It gains you 1 memory. It also gains you memory from the Ken because the Ken is in name. So you do gain memory. So ideally, this can set you to 4, 5, 6 memory. 6 is a little bit harder. 5 can, but 4 memory for sure with these Tamers.
They don't deal with your Imperials.
Exactly. If they don't deal with Imperials, it does do a lot of work. So I'm a big fan of this Davis, and I do actually can trigger that effect. Chimeramon does become a 2-color blue-green Digimon, at least 2 colors, as long as I have green from this and blue underneath. You can use this ability to digivolve into an Imperial Dramon during the swing. Not always what you're going to do compared to like normal Imperial Dramon decks, but it does do a lot of work. If I were to change anything in the Tamers, I would like to figure out how to add another one of these Davis because I feel like the memory gain on this is so nice.
It's probably a little more
We just-
consistent on terms of the memory gain and the when attacking.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
So I wish I could, but room is so tight, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think below. We're going to dive in some options because I'm playing some crazy options. You ready for a really crazy choice I'm sure no one saw coming?
Roback.
Gaia Force. That's not the option I'm talking about, guys, but I do play a couple interesting options in here. But let's talk about Gaia Force first. It blows things up. It's great. So Quartzmon is a menace right now in the meta. Sometimes you just need to Gaia Force your opponent to kind of start them over. It does give them a lot of memory, but Gaia Force is so strong. It's great in security. It's really nice in this deck. Part of the benefits of playing red is you don't get stuck with bouncing to hand.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, blue's been getting a little bit better removal, bouncing things to deck, bottom of the deck, but the Gaia Force has been really nice. I've been really liking this split in a lot of my red decks lately. So 2 Gaia Force and 2 Crimson Blaze.
I feel like Crimson Blaze is one of those cards that just keeps getting better.
It just,
and
every
still
set,
is slept
the
on.
card doesn't change, but everything else does. And all of a sudden, Crimson Blaze just keeps doing work.
Mhm.
So for those of you who don't know what Crimson Blaze is, get on this card. It's so good. It's great in red decks. Reduce the memory cost of this card in your hand by 1 for each Digimon your opponent has in play. So you reduce that cost. So if they have 3 bodies and you have a Davis out, you can play this and keep it your turn.
Yep.
Right? And it can potentially delete all 3, assuming. And let's talk about the next step. Main, delete all of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. So it pops all 6Ks and below. If you somehow pair it with chimeramon, where you do a DP minus to get -4, -5K, put them in that 6K threshold, then Crimson Blaze can finish the job if you really need to. But a lot of times, this is just great on its own. You don't necessarily need to pair it with something like that.
Now, what I do got to ask, though, is without having like a red Tamer or even
Yeah.
red top end, have you ever like not been able to play these?
That's a great question. I honestly honestly say no. So I think before, with the way the deck was kind of ending up in my first iteration, where I changed my level 4 armors into more almost like Vmon Armor Rush kind of stuff, I was struggling a little bit, but I have almost all my 4s have part red in them, right? So that really helps. The Vmon is nice. Sometimes you just play the Vmon, draw 2 cards, and then you draw the Gaia Force, or you draw the Crimson Blaze that you needed anyways. So, it kind of lines up to where you have that red. The eggs are red. Yes, it can be an issue at times, but I feel like the red's pretty consistent enough to where it does a lot of work. And chimeramon, on your turn, is every color in its sources.
Right.
So it does end up being that color. That being said, though, let's talk about a blue option as a 1-of Ice Wall. Ice Wall is a really strong card. I guess maybe we should talk about Crimson Blaze. It also does stop your opponent from playing Digimon by effects.
Which is the best part.
Real quick, yep. Ice Wall, all your opponent's Digimon gain when attacking, lose 2 memory until the end of their next turn. Security effect, gain 2 memory. There's a reason why this card is restricted. Really strong in this deck. Armor Purge does a great job, especially when you're Digivolving for 2, of choking your memory of pretty well on your opponent. And sometimes just slowing them down with Ice Wall is sometimes all you need. This could be a Blitz Omni. This could be a Davis if you're not a fan of the Ice Wall. If you guys know me on the channel, sometimes I don't even put Ice Walls in blue decks. So seeing it in a red deck is really funny to me.
You put it in here.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of a nice little touch. And we are playing restricted cards, so I might as well play another one. Hidden Potential discovered, guys. This is my last card in the deck. It's really strong because you can suspend chimeramon because he's considered green if you have the green sources. Digivolve into Imperial Dramon or the fighter mode for free. Unsuspend either with that effect. Unsuspend with the Davis and Ken. Does a lot of work. It's insane. This is just a great deck, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this deck as much as I have. Jakey, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Jump in the comments. Let us know what you think. And stay tuned for more great deck profile videos. Thanks. Bye. Oh,